This is the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com, hosted by Jerry and Mark, your one-stop shop for all horrible movie reviews. From the latest blockbusters and independent films to classics, let Mark and Jerry convince you the world is a dangerous place, though often good for a laugh. Now come and listen to the Horror Movie Show, if you dare.
Good day, folks. Jerry here.
And Mark.
Bringing you another episode of the Horror Movie Show on hmpod.com. And hello to all our fellow members of the Crypt family.
I went on the site and I could not find us under the Crypt family.
Yeah, we're there. We're there.
Because I could not find us.
Oh, yeah, I made sure that we were there.
Maybe they put them up lately but a couple weeks ago when I checked, could not find.
Okay.
Maybe that's because I'm on a PC and you're on a Mac.
No, not at this point.
I know. I'm just making a joke there, but at the same time.
Yeah, that's
maybe I'm just too stupid to find it.
Yeah.
Debatable.
Yeah. It's an intelligence test. Yeah. If a site like that weeded out the stupid people, there wouldn't be very many people visiting the site. I say the same thing about listening to our show. No, I don't. We have nothing but the finest human beings listening to our show. So let's see. We're going to start by talking about Fear the Walking Dead, the new series. And then we got a little Dead People specials. We're going to talk about Wes Craven, who just passed away at age 76 from brain cancer. He had a long fight, from what I understand. And we're also going to talk about Roddy Piper, a couple of his movies.
Yeah, I was shocked when you suggested these movies, and there he was.
That was a suggestion from a listener that we should look at those two movies specifically. I downloaded a bunch of other movies that Roddy is in.
Right.
And they're uniformly bad. Uniformly awful. He had one good year, 1988, when he made Hell Comes to Frogtown and They Live. Same year. I'm not even sure which was first.
Well, we can talk about it. We'll talk about it.
We'll get to them in a minute. And then if we have time, we've got some Ben Wheatley movies we could talk about. We'll see how our time goes. We try to keep these to an hour or thereabouts.
Yeah.
Okay. So, Fear the Walking Dead premiered a week and a half ago.
Has two episodes so far?
2 episodes have run here in America of the North.
And South.
Yeah, well, the continent, I meant. So it stars Kim Dickens. She plays Madison Clark. Cliff Curtis is her boyfriend, Travis Manawa. Frank Dillane plays Kim's drug-addicted junkie son, who's the first in this group, this core group that we're meeting in the first few episodes here. He's the first one to notice that there are zombies.
Yeah, and unfortunately, he is just coming down from a drug trip.
Well, he's sobering up.
He has no idea if what he saw was real.
Plus, he's wearing his girlfriend's blouse. So
I was kind of wondering about that.
Yeah. Well, he's either Jim Morrison or he's wearing a girl's blouse.
He looks like Jim Morrison.
Yeah, exactly.
A young Jim Morrison.
To me, he looks like Johnny Depp, if Johnny Depp had just had a long weekend of doing
debauchery,
blow and heroin and God knows what else. So, who else is in it? Alicia Debnam Carey plays Nick's sister, Madison's daughter, Alicia. Elizabeth Rodriguez plays Lisa Ortiz. Lorenzo James Henry plays Chris Manawa. And Mercedes Mason and Ruben Blades were introduced in the second episode. They're just a nice Latino family. He's a barber, I think, was his shop. And
they were just introduced last show.
Yeah.
I have no idea who the permanent cast is going to be.
There's a heavy Latino element, this being set in Los Angeles.
Yes.
So Los Angelinos there.
I watched Talking Dead, and they were mentioning some of the things about this show. Not a lot about it, just a little bit about it, and they were basically saying that it's a different point of view of the Walking Dead mythos because we know more than what the cast members.
Of course.
And so we anticipating what's going to happen
Yeah.
before the actors know what's
Sure.
going on. So it's an interesting point of view.
The opening scene with Nick sobering up, and they're in a shooting gallery, which is an old church. And
Yeah.
This is where all the junkies hang out. And he staggers around calling for his girlfriend Gloria, and he can't find her, and he staggers downstairs, and he sees somebody who's had their throat ripped open. So that puts him on edge, and then he finds his girlfriend, and she's feeding on the corpse of some poor dude. And he runs away shrieking and screaming, and that looks, up to that point, just like a scene from The Walking Dead.
Yeah.
But then he gets hit by a car, and that's when the credits start, and the camera pulls back, and we see that it's a
Normal.
living city
Yeah,
today.
normal day.
Planes flying in the air and buses running along the street. So he's among the first to
Witness
something terrible. But things progress.
Yeah, the government seems to be keeping a cap on the incidents that are happening because they're not quite sure what's going on either. But at the same time, they don't want the population.
Well, we've heard nothing from the authorities except police video of them shooting, and not being able to kill a maniac, and then a headshot will put them down.
Yeah.
And this is all being told from the point of view of civilians, like the schoolgirl and her junkie brother, and the mum and the dad. Well, the boyfriend, who are both. She's a counselor, and he's an English teacher at the same school. One very tight knit group in the show so far.
Yeah. Well, I think it's supposed to center in on this one family.
It's going to, yeah.
Yeah.
And you can tell that right from the start.
But how far can it go?
Oh, I know.
How fast is the zombie apocalypse going to rifle through the population?
Yeah, we know that everybody has the disease, and if they die of natural causes, they're going to come back. So we have no idea whether it's still just in L.A. and hasn't spread outside the city, or whether it's happening everywhere.
Right.
And if it's happening everywhere at the same time, then humanity's in a lot more trouble. But if it's just starting in L.A., and, with the planes going in and out...
it's a major hub
Yeah.
to Asia, as well as
Right.
South America, to Europe,
America's second biggest
all
city.
over the place. I mean, even to Australia and things like that.
No, they let people from Los Angeles go to Australia?
No, is New Zealand first, then Australia.
That's terrible.
Yeah. Anyway, so
Australia.
no, I mean, if it's starting, chances are it's spreading very quickly everywhere.
Mm.
It's not apparent that this is the first place that it's starting, but it is here.
Yeah. And whatever the authorities are doing, it's inadequate.
Yeah.
Obviously, they don't get a handle on it. We're only going to be watching civilization crumble because The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Well, of course. We know what the result of this...
we know what's going to be happening within a year. So,
yeah.
Yeah, it's just terrible. So we don't know how early this is occurring compared to when Rick wakes up and the story of The Walking Dead begins.
This is true. Because
it could be 6 months, it could be 2 years. We don't know.
So how long was Rick in the hospital?
He was out for a month, I think. It was about a month.
And of that time, how long was it that he was all by himself? So, because he must have been monitored and...
Well, that's just it. He was in a coma, and they essentially stole Rick's situation from 28 days later. And that's where I'm getting the month from. I don't know how long Rick was in the hospital.
But he had a long beard coming out.
Perhaps it was only a week, because his family had only left.
Yeah, but he had that beard. Slightly. I mean, he was clean shaven, and then he has this,
Well, he's got a week's.
At least an inch growth.
Okay, the thing is that they set him up with an IV bag, and then they abandoned him. His partner pushed a gurney against the door and left him there. That was possibly the last human that Rick saw. So the bag is dry when he wakes up, and he's very thirsty, and he, whatever. But in 28 days later, he's been out for 4 weeks.
Right.
Like, that's what we know. And in that 4 weeks, London has been depopulated.
Right.
Almost entirely.
Yeah.
So I just assume Fear the Walking Dead is 6 months, a year. How quickly is this going to spread? We're going to see. And time, of course, doesn't mean anything. The Walking Dead, everything that's happened in The Walking Dead, even though it's 5 years of watching, I think everything has taken place in about a year and a half.
Right.
I think time is compressed.
Yeah.
And so in this show, we have no idea. Maybe events we're going to see events day by day or even hour by hour. How quickly are the biters going to be able to spread the disease?
Well, what do you think of the show?
I like it. It didn't immediately grab me the way The Walking Dead did. I thought The Walking Dead, because that jumps right into the gross horror.
Oh, yeah.
Was more fascinating. Plus, it premiered on Halloween night, so I was already in a mood working at our building's haunted house. This one is, I'd say, more thoughtful. It's definitely starting out more slowly, but it has potential to grow much larger because the number of people who can run screaming and shrieking and the number of zombies that can be chasing them could be, astronomical.
Well, the thing is that in the second show, there's all these rebellions, these riots all over the place, and they have nothing to do really with the zombies. It's with people wondering why are the police murdering these
that's right.
these zombies.
Yeah.
And
it's quite timely.
Yeah, and they're thinking, well, they're going to come for me next, if they're just shooting people.
They're shooting white people.
Yeah.
For God's sakes, they're shooting white people. What's up with the cops?
So, in effect, they're fighting each other.
Yeah.
Before they realize that there's something happening. I also
sort of got the idea, though, that these rioting crowds of Los Angeles citizens, maybe there's a zombie, one or two in that crowd, and people are going crazy and thrashing around and getting louder and more violent because there's what they see as lunatic murderers in their midst.
Right.
Because it only takes one zombie to start biting somebody and
especially in a riot. I mean, everybody's running around. There's looting happening. There's people just wanting to burn everything in sight. And then having a few zombies running around biting people, not so noticeable.
No. That's right. That's what I mean. Yeah. So, and that would make a crowd surge in one direction. If there's a guy over here biting necks out, that would make the crowd run towards the cops no matter how many guns the cops have. So, and suddenly they need protection rather than and the cops don't know what's going on. They figure that they're being overrun. They're in the dark as well. I get the idea that nobody has a handle on this. The CDC, we met one guy at the end of the first season of The Walking Dead from the Center for Disease Control in Atlanta. And they didn't know where it started. They didn't know how it started. All the big information that he could give to Rick, what he whispered before they escaped was, everybody is diseased. Everybody has it. So it doesn't matter how you die, you will come back. You don't have to be bitten. Right. So nobody knows that yet. And, so somebody decides to shoot themselves, kill themselves in this terrible, hopeless situation. Well, unless it's a headshot, you're not going to be dead. If they're taking pills or driving into a wall, they're going to be back. Yeah. So, and we haven't even checked out a graveyard yet to see people clawing their way up from the dirt. Well, first of all, can they get infected because they're underneath the ground? Or are the freshly dead, more susceptible because they already have the thing? Yeah. And what about the guys being chucked into the furnace? Yeah, exactly. I like Z Nation's take, and that is that the fresher reanimated corpse is, the stronger and faster it is. Well, these zombies are obviously stronger and faster. They're just sprinting. Yeah. So because they are fresh. But they've got a lot to prove, being prototypes. Anyway, it'll be interesting to see where they go. They can't settle in to where
The Walking Dead are, because then it would just be repeating the same story.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
it's got to be different.
It's got to crawl toward that.
And I'm hoping that it's going to be crawling towards where it came from.
Right.
Is there a like Z Nation or whatever? Right. Is there a possibility of a cure?
Right.
Are there installations still holding out?
Well,
stuff like that.
Well, by the time The Walking Dead has begun, I think the last chance of a cure was guy blew himself in his facility.
Right.
Up.
Right. But what I'm talking about with this new series is that are they going to go through that?
But it would all be dead ends because we know that they're.
Well, not necessarily, because we still don't know what's happening on the West Coast in The Walking Dead. So maybe there are some sort of pockets of things happening.
But it's not as if they're making headway. It's not as if,
Are they smarter than the guys in Atlanta?
Yeah.
The liberal West Coast, you know?
Yeah, I don't know. Well, I would just say that it would appear to me logically to be hopeless. That we're just going to watch the slide into chaos.
Is that where we want to go with this series? Yeah. I mean, will they be able to maintain a following?
Do we have a say?
Well, I'm saying that for the writers and the creators of the thing, right. I mean, they've got to have some sort of plan that's different than The Walking Dead, because there can't be just hopelessness.
Right.
There's got to be some sort of hope. And there's got to be, and they can't say, well, there's hope, but we know it's not going to work.
Right.
Because
they can't say that.
What's the point of watching then? I mean, it's like we know where it's going.
Yeah. Well, it's a prequel, though. I like prequels sometimes.
Yeah, but how long are you going to hang on to the prequel before you say, well, I'll just watch The Walking Dead?
It depends how well written it is and how well acted it is.
Yeah.
And so far, I'm finding the cast. I've always liked Cliff Curtis. And Kim Dickens can be very good, depending on what she's in. So just have to see where it goes. There's only 4 more episodes this season.
Yeah, they do that. They'd have a real short first season just to see if it'll fly.
Yeah, it's also that's right. It's cheaper and if it isn't picked up, I do believe it has been picked up. In fact, the first episode was a record setter.
Was it?
Yeah, for I believe network TV, certainly AMC's most successful premiere.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of hype to it, so...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, what's his name? Walking Dead, when its final episode broke records. So, it is logical that there's a huge fan base of us zombie nuts out there.
Yeah.
So, they're preaching to the choir. But, we'll just have to see what happens. I would assume that people are going to want to leave the city and... on the road again. Well, where are they going to go?
Yeah, but they got to stay on the West Coast.
Head to Atlanta.
There's hope there.
Yeah, they hear the law enforcement officers in Atlanta. There's a sheriff's deputy they want to meet.
And that's another major hub, so there you go.
So, speaking of zombies, we can only hope that Wes Craven comes back and makes a few more movies. It's very
post-mortem.
Very sad. The guy, like many directors, especially directors who work making very popular types of movies, he made some real trash. But we got a little list here of some of his better movies, or at least more memorable movies. I'll start at the beginning. The Last House on the Left, 1972. That was his first big movie, at least according to IMDb. And that was remade recently. The original still stands up, though. It's really low budget, very grotty looking.
Well, that's the nice thing about it. If it's well written and acted, I mean, it doesn't matter how much your budget is.
Yeah.
You can be creative with this stuff. And again, like we've mentioned before, I mean, horror movies, all you really need is makeup. At least back then.
Right.
And you're fine.
Right.
Nowadays, they depend more on special effects.
Yeah.
But back then, if you could make someone look horrified or cut up or whatever, you could make a decent movie.
Well, a recent movie like It Follows, there wasn't a hell of a lot of special effects in that.
I still haven't seen that. I know you love that movie.
Yeah, it was really good.
And I'll have to watch it so we can discuss it at year end.
Yeah, well, it's certainly one of the best of last year. His next big movie, as far as I was concerned, was The Hills Have Eyes, 1977.
Didn't they remake that as well?
Yes, they remade that. They remade that, and both have sequels, which is pretty funny. The Hills Have Eyes introduced us to Michael Berryman, the bald, googly-eyed mutant. Mm-hmm. In that, he's so good. That's a movie that came out in '77 and pretty much straight to video, and it was such a huge hit on VHS when that came out. I remember my mum renting it and watching it out at my mum and dad's place. We were just hooting with laughter.
See, that's the thing. It's like VHS really opened up a market. If a studio suddenly decided that they didn't want to bring out a movie, they had another avenue to bring out the movie. And straight to VHS or video was unheard of before. Yeah. You know, and suddenly they're these really cheesy movies and low-budget movies or iffy movies that they weren't sure about. And you could actually go and see these things or rent
bring them home.
Yeah.
So for $2 you could watch The Hills Have Eyes.
Yeah.
And yes, it did. It's where I saw The Road Warrior. I saw so many movies that I love first on VHS. Simply because you can't get out to see movies in the theater all the time, and VHS, you could go rent half a dozen, take them home, and just splurge over the weekend.
Yeah, binge watch again.
Oh, I know, I did.
And now you have Netflix and things like that, where you can just browse the catalog and watch whatever you want.
Yeah, and home video was a huge plus to filmmakers for the reasons that you just said. It changed the deal. So when people had to figure out, how much the movie would be projected to make versus its costs, you had to factor in the home video market, which became huge. Today, of course, there isn't just selling it to TV eventually, but Netflix.
Yeah. I remember, when there was a real big deal when it came on TV, network TV. Yeah. But then again, they would cut it up, edit it, and put tons of commercials in it. Yeah. So it wasn't worth watching anyway. It was terrible.
But we did, because we didn't have 50 other ways to watch movies.
Yeah.
That's true. So the way a movie used to be released before video, you had your big theater opening, and then it would go to the second string theaters, and then like repertory houses where you'd see it in a double bill or a midnight movie, and then it would make its way to TV. Mm-hmm. Whereas you say, depending on the station, we were lucky here in Canada. They're much more liberal and open-minded as far as what movies were allowed to do. I remember they broadcast The Godfather without a lot of... They only had a couple of commercial breaks, and they left the nudity in, they left all the violence and the cussing in.
Yeah.
As opposed to its U.S. network premiere, where it would have been chopped up so badly, it would have been hard to follow.
Sure.
I mean, the violence is an integral part. I don't know the little nude scene with Michael's pretty little Italian wife, Apollonia. I don't know that's hugely important, but hey, I appreciated seeing movies. I know my dad did. So that was funny.
It brought you guys together.
Yeah, well, there's the whole family. My younger sisters and I was just a teenager, and we're watching this movie, and it's like, whoa! My mom tut-tutting on the couch, in between cigarettes and rum and cokes. We weren't all drinking,
but you graduated to that.
Eventually.
Eventually, you were all drinking.
Eventually, I've watched The Godfather drinking. Yeah. So let's see. The Hills Have Eyes, and then the very funny and underappreciated Swamp Thing
with Adrienne Barbeau.
And she was in the sequel as well.
Yeah, I watched that actually a couple months ago.
Yeah,
just for the hell of it.
Funny movie.
I know, it's really cheesy.
Oh, it is.
Oh, man.
But intentionally so. It's a comic book movie.
Yeah, but the thing is, the comic wasn't cheesy and it wasn't funny.
No.
It was a real serious thing. I think...
and it was ridiculous. I remember reading that when I was a kid. It was just like, come on. But then they made it a cartoony version of the movie, which... I like that.
You did, huh?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, jeez.
I think the sequel is funnier. The sequel has strangely a little bigger budget, and I don't know what Wes Craven, if anything, had to do with the sequel, but he didn't always write his movies. And these ones we're talking about are just movies he directed. He wrote some of them, like The Hills Have Eyes and Last House on the Left, but a lot of them other people wrote the screenplays.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, Swamp Thing, it is very, very silly, but I thought it had style.
It's like the Hulk, except for with, the Hulk having plants all over him.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah. No, he's got more intellect than the Hulk does. He's an intelligent plant man.
But not when he was the plant man, I don't think.
Yes, yeah. And he's always the plant man. He doesn't change back.
Oh, once. But the way he changed into plant man, with the toxic waste and electricity.
He got dumped they tried to murder him.
Yeah.
Louis Jourdan, the big villain, tries to kill him. Yeah. Louis Jourdan. Okay. Now, his next big movie was one of his two legacies. They're still making them. A Nightmare on Elm Street, 1984. He introduced Freddy Krueger to the world, who's arguably the most popular horror villain.
Yeah.
Anti-hero, I'd have to say, because he's so loved.
And yet he was deformed.
Oh, he's vile.
But he had a sense of humor. But I don't know about this.
A child-raping murderer.
Yeah, he didn't have such a sense of humor in the first movies, but as it progressed, it was like he had that.
Well, the first one is the only.
He
one
had that Arnold
scary.
Schwarzenegger kind of like thing happening, where he had these.
Pull yourself together.
These manner. Yeah, I don't know.
We got time to die. yeah, very much. And the effects only got sillier and grosser and larger. But the first one, the fake end, where the mum is like almost slow motion. It's reminiscent of the original Carrie.
Carrie, yeah, I was thinking that.
The mum standing outside of the house, waving to the kids as they drive away, and the daughter is looking back. Heather is looking back, and they think they've survived. And Freddy reaches through the peephole in the door.
That's right.
Hauls the mum, just rips her to pieces right through. So the kids are still dreaming, And yet Heather has survived to star in the next
sequel. Yeah.
In the first of the many sequels.
Yeah.
I mean, it really got stupid. Freddy versus Jason and stuff like that.
Oh yeah, because that was the beginning of the serial killer kind of.
It was, yeah. It was successive movies like this that got them to start making more Psychos and movies like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it became an industry, a Nightmare on Elm Street industry. Now, after that, 4 years later, he made The Serpent and the Rainbow, which is certainly a more artistic movie than he had made up to that point, I think, based on a serious book by anthropologist and writer Wade Davis, who I drank heavily with one night.
Did you?
Interviewing him, yeah. Yeah, it was to plug his book, The Serpent and the Rainbow, which was just being released as the movie.
Okay.
So the movie stars Bill Pullman as Wade Davis, essentially. I don't remember whether they keep his real name in the movie, but he's playing an anthropologist who's on the search for the mysterious zombies. Are they real? And if they are real, how are they created? How do you make a human being into a mindless zombie? And he winds up getting deeper and deeper and deeper into the voodoo religion until finally.
Does he go to Haiti or something?
Yeah, I think it's Haiti. It's Haiti or the Dominican Republic. It's somewhere in the Caribbean where zombies they're very.
That's where they originated from. The
the religion there is it's like Santeria. It's a mixture of African tribal religions and Christianity and other superstitions.
Sure.
So it's a real heady mix of a grab bag of all kinds of superstitions.
And not only that, but I mean Wiccan and all that stuff is.
Well, that goes hand in hand with Christianity. You can't have witchcraft if you don't have Christianity. right? It's like the light and the dark of the same.
Well, no, I'm thinking that that's more of the what was around.
Oh, you mean even older?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean by the African religions.
Yeah.
You know, it's the
tribal,
old,
like you said.
old religions
Yeah.
that the slaves brought with them.
And it's not necessarily religion, but it's like understanding how roots work and healing and things like that through medicine that you discover under a pot.
Absolutely.
So there's a bunch of stuff like that.
Yeah. So he gets deeper and deeper, and it becomes more and more dangerous, not just to his physical health, but his mental health as well. And finally, he's given a dose of the zombie powder and buried alive, and the idea is that a person given this, I think it's ibogaine, given this substance which can be extracted from plants, as you say, folk medicine, and it's a hallucinogen, and it knocks your senses for a loop, and you just become very suggestible, and this may be the origin of the legendary zombie. But what it comes right down to is, let's face it, there are no zombies. There may be people more suggestible under hypnotics than other people, but they're not dead people brought back to life.
Yeah, they just seem dead.
That's right. And the idea of the ceremony that he goes through against his will is that he's dosed, he's buried as if he's dead, and then he's resurrected, and he'd be under
just
their
like
control.
Jesus.
Exactly, yeah. And then he ascends into New York. Yeah. So Wade was a real nice guy. He's hosted TV series as an anthropologist and stuff like that. So I'm sure he's listening. Hey, Wade. I've still got an autographed copy of The Serpent and the Rainbow at home, which he gave me.
So where does the rainbow part of it come from?
The Serpent and the Rainbow is like a creation myth, I believe, from that voodoo religion.
Okay.
To me, it always conjured up the idea of snakes and ladders. The kids' game, Serpent and the Rainbow. Now, back to his true form. I mention this not because it's one of his great movies, Shocker, 1989, but because I remember seeing this in the theater and reviewing it. I was working for Plus magazine. I may have even dragged you to see this, Mark. I know we were friends by this time.
Yeah, I know, but I for the life,
okay.
It does ring a bell.
Yeah. Well, the story is about this mad serial killer who's electrocuted on death row. He's killed, but he's into voodoo, which is probably Craven's pickup from working on The Serpent and the Rainbow. And through magic and sort of a Chucky-like thing, he manages to put himself through the electrical current.
That's right.
And then he's like jumping out of TV.
Yeah.
So he's running.
Yeah, we saw some really weird movies.
Oh yeah, well
back then.
Yeah, whatever was going. I had a free movie pass to one of the two big chain theater owners here. I could take somebody to see movies anytime I wanted.
That's right.
I took 100 people to see 1,000 movies.
Yeah.
That was great. What a perk that was. It's lovely. And that in the day when movie theaters, movie tickets were worth something because that's where you wanted to go to see a movie. Now people want to buy the Blu-ray or whatever. Anyway, Shocker was sort of funny.
It was,
but nothing special. It was a very silly movie. But the next movie that we chose, The People Under the Stairs, 1992, that is my favorite Wes Craven movie. I just think that is one of the funniest horror comedies ever made. And it stars Everett McGill and Wendy Roby, who had been paired as husband and wife on Twin Peaks. And they worked so well together on that show that Craven said, I'm going to hire these two to play their husband and wife and brother and sister, and they refer to each other as mommy and daddy, or mother and father, something like that. So there's all kinds of weird crap going on between them. And they've got like a passel of kids that they've kidnapped and live in the walls of their old rambling Victoria mansion. And the kids, many of them have grown up now, and they've never seen sunlight, and they're cannibalistic monsters and insane. I suppose living with those two, you'd go nuts, but it's such a silly movie. It begins with 3 thieves breaking into their house.
Big mistake.
Ving Rhames being the leader of the group, and the third member of the party being Ving Rhames' son, I believe, or at least his adopted son. And off they go into the house, and things go downhill from there. And the little kid is the only one who survives, and he survives with the help of a girl, Alice, who lives in the house. Alice being, like Alice in Wonderland.
Sure.
And she knows all the hidey holes and the rabbit holes and the escape hatches and stuff. So she keeps the kid alive. Fool is the name of the little boy. She keeps Fool alive, and they use the maniacs under the stairs as like weapons and so on. Anyway, Everett McGill and Wendy Roby are so funny. When he is in his full leather geek outfit with the mask and the ball in his mouth and the zippers all over him, and he's running around with a shotgun, I'm gonna get you, it's way over the top. Very funny movie. You seen it, Mark?
Didn't they remake that as well?
They're going to.
Yes.
It's in the works. God help us. I hope they do it justice, because it's, like I say, my favorite Craven. Now, his next movie, 1996, the next one we picked out of the list is Scream, and that's his second gift to horror.
Yeah.
Another franchise that will probably continue on.
And the thing about this movie is that it was making fun of itself.
Yes.
The whole genre.
Yeah.
Now, why do people do this? Why do people do this now they just started...
Hey, here's the rules.
Yeah.
Here's the rules of how to survive in horror. And then they start breaking the rules, and the kids are dying.
And a lot of stars in it,
Yep.
Young stars.
Yeah. They became bigger stars.
Yeah.
Thanks in part to this movie. But yes, for example, Drew Barrymore at the beginning, she was a big star.
Yeah.
And she's the first victim. She's killed off before the credits roll. Easy gig.
Yeah, easy.
And she was on the poster with a hand over her.
So they have a television series now, right?
I think there was a series. I don't know.
No, it's a new series this year.
Yeah, okay.
I watched the first half of the first episode, and it just bugged me, because it's like, once again, it's a woman in her house, and suddenly she starts getting text messages, and the guy can see everything.
Right.
And he can send her texts with video texts of things that she had just done 10 seconds earlier, and from all different angles. And it's like, I'm going, give me a break.
Yeah, get out of the house now.
Yeah. It's this crap. I'm going, you'd have to have like 50 cameras all over the place, and the latest technology.
Yeah.
And
she doesn't notice the drone hovering in the room with her.
Exactly. And I'm going, oh, come on. Make it a little more realistic than that.
Yeah.
And it just...
It is, as you say, it's mocking the genre. The best movie for being self-referential and deconstructing that kind of horror movie is The Cabin in the Woods, which I like much better than Scream. I was not a big fan of the Scream movies. And I have to say, after the first Nightmare on Elm Street, I wasn't a fan of any of the sequels either. I'm not I don't think either of us are fans of the slasher.
Yeah, especially when you know that, okay, they're coming back with another one.
Yeah.
That's why the first one's always unique, because it isn't apparent that the person's going to come back.
That's right.
But after a while, it's like, okay, is Freddy ever going to die for real?
Yeah.
Or Jason?
I liked all the Saw movies, but for Pete's sake.
Yeah.
And they swore that 7 was the last one, but they're working on 8 now. They can't give up that dough.
Yeah.
They can't give up the filthy lucre that's going to pour in when they go straight to video. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
They have one huge opening weekend, and then it goes right on to pay-per-view, and they'll make another fortune. But will it be worth seeing? I don't know. I thought they wrapped it up in 7. In fact, I don't think 7 was necessary. I thought they wrapped it up earlier.
Yeah.
But that series, as much as any of them, is so full of red herrings.
Yeah.
Now, after Scream, the movie we picked was Red Eye, 2005. So that's a 9-year gap between really worthwhile movies. Of course, he was making a lot of Scream sequels in between. Now, Red Eye is a straight thriller. There's nothing supernatural about it. It stars Rachel McAdam and Cillian Murphy. I forget how to pronounce his name. And they're on a flight. She's like they found us again. Jeez, I told you we got to keep moving our location, Mark. They found us last week too.
It's just that they have that emergency building down the road, and it's every once in a while there's something happening on the street.
It goes zombies, probably.
Yeah.
It's another outbreak.
It's something we live with at the Splutz building.
Yeah, that's right.
It's terrible.
Yeah. So, what can I say? Red Eye, it's about a young woman who is on her way to a job somewhere, and she's on the midnight flight, the Red Eye flight, and the guy sitting next to her, it turns out, is like a hijacker, and he is going to use her to get done what he wants, and he has secret motives. There's all sorts of twists and turns in there. I remember this movie. Yeah, very, very nicely done.
Yeah, I liked it.
Good thriller.
Yeah, there was a lot of unexpected twists, and they're in contact with the airport they're going towards, and they're finding out information, and then they find out other things, and it all twists around.
And then it continues once the plane lands, and they're off the plane.
And the nice thing about it is it is suspenseful, and I like the twists, and I like the way it unfolds.
Right.
It's a very interesting movie.
It is, especially as
I've seen other movies like this.
Yeah, half of it takes place with the two people in their seats on the airplane. It's remarkable that you can make that interesting.
Yeah. Because it's suspenseful, and you're learning things along the way.
Yeah, and how is she going to react, and why is he doing that?
Yeah, and that's the whole key, is that why are things happening? Yeah.
Now, the last movie I want to mention is one of the last things that Wes Craven did, and then he got, I guess, too sick to really work, although he continued to oversee remakes like The Last House on the Left and The Hills Have Eyes and so on in the last 10 years or so. But he contributed to Paris Je T'aime, which is, I believe it's years since I saw it, but I believe it's about, it's a sort of an anthology of little stories about
love in Paris.
Very, very like New York Stories.
Right.
3 directors.
Right.
Yeah. So, anyway, we're going to miss you, Wes. You sure made some good movies, and just enduring. Just the Scream or the Freddy Krueger series alone would have meant he'd live forever.
And now, like there's that TV series that's going on and on and on. So.
That's right. And they tried to get a TV series with Freddy, but it was an anthology series.
Right.
He was just hosting it. He wasn't in each episode.
Right.
Sort of Tales from the Crypt.
Yeah.
Yeah. That I don't think that lasted very long, but it has a small, loyal, and deeply disturbed following. Now let's talk about the other loss to horror in the last month. Roddy Piper, Canadian.
Yes.
Nice Canadian boy.
A wrestler by heart.
Yes, a wrestler by trade.
Yeah.
And he started as a villain.
Yes, I read that.
And then he became a hero because they love to hate him so much, and then they love to love him.
Yeah.
And when he quit wrestling, as one would, after the pounding starts to addle your brains, he got into acting. And one of the first things that he did was Hell Comes to Frogtown, which is, I just watched it last night. Mark watched it last week. It is an extremely silly movie.
It is, but it's funny.
It is very funny, and it's surprisingly well done for what it is. A super low-budget movie.
I was impressed with the frogs.
Yeah.
Because
I know, good costumes.
Considering it was 1988.
Yeah.
And they looked like they were talking.
Yes, it was well done. Yeah, the mouths move. The first frog that we see, the throat swells when he's talking, and the eyes roll, and it's
and they don't show up until quite later on in the movie.
Right.
So there's this whole build-up between this woman and Roddy.
Yeah.
Who is a government agency.
Mad Max ripoff. He's like there's been a massive nuclear war, and the provisional government, as it's called, which evidently is being run by nurses and female doctors.
Because I think 75% of the males have died.
Yeah, and there's few fertile women and even fewer
fertile men.
So Roddy has been captured and tested, and he's a super stud.
Yeah,
and he's a reluctant super stud, but they clamp an explosive device electronically controlled over his groin.
Yeah.
So he's not allowed to remove it. And the joke near the beginning is, well, but how am I supposed to, if you want me to be a stud, how am I supposed to? There's a flap.
Yeah.
Somebody says. And then later on, he's about to make love to a woman that they capture. It's essentially a rape. Because the female doctor, Spangle, in charge of the mission, she jumps on top of this woman and stabs her with a hypodermic and, gives her some joy juice. And the next thing you know, she's like, begging for it. So, so he's just like happily raping away. And she says, well, how do you? And he says, there's a flap. Flap jokes. So, very, very silly movie. And I was really glad to recognize Rory Calhoun, who was, good God, a leading Hollywood man back in the 40s. His first roles were uncredited, probably very tiny roles. 1944 he began in Hollywood. And then he became one of the big, hunky Hollywood men. He was like 6'1", 6'2".
I've heard of him.
This is a guy who, before he got into acting, had been a lumberjack, a cowboy, a roustabout. I mean, he was a man's man. And he got to Hollywood, and he's like one of these real studs who evidently didn't take himself seriously, because after he was no longer able to be the leading man, he started doing TV stuff. He was very big in TV in the 50s and 60s, lots of series, and then into the 70s and 80s, he was appearing in all the cheesy TV series that were around then, Murder, She Wrote, and
right.
All these terrible series that are, nostalgic.
Oh, come on. A lot of people love Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yes. Amazing Trixie watches that. And in this, he's like this skinny old dude, and it's one of the last movies he made in 1988. He died, 1999, I think he died. Anyway, he didn't work a lot in the last few years. And he looks like a pretty sick old man in this movie. Right. Very skinny. But he's funny. Yeah,
the premise is that the frogmen have captured some women that were fertile. Right. And Roddy Piper, his last name is Hell, so he's going to Frogtown.
Sam Hell.
Yeah. And exactly. Yeah. And they're trying to rescue these women so that they can repopulate the earth.
Right. If they can't rescue them, then he's got to have sex with them there in Frogtown. So it's he has his mission one way or the other, and he has a.
And I love the 80s look. It's like he's got his shirt open to his navel, and the chains.
And he's glistening. He's often glistening with sweat.
And that hair.
Oh, I love it. And it's like it's beautiful, shiny.
But he's not even a handsome-looking guy. He's got divots in his face. He's not. Because he was a wrestler. He's got hit in the face a few times.
No, it's because he had terrible acne when he was.
Well, that too. Yeah. And so he's not even a handsome guy.
And he's not
for
that
the
good an actor.
And for the 80s, he was a handsome guy for some reason.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, it made me laugh. And he was the stud.
He's so reluctant, and he's just like, at one point he thinks, all right, that's it, and he starts running away, and then his groin device starts beeping and giving him massive pain in And the scrote or
and then the government agent, she has earrings that have to be in close proximity.
Yeah.
And she says, well, don't bother taking the earrings off, because if they come off my flesh, then you're going to get the same results.
It's going to explode.
Yeah.
There's an ounce of plastic explosive in the device, which it turns out the head frog does manage to get the device off Roddy, and then it blows up in his face. Not much of a charge. It's like a firecracker.
Oh, come on. Right next to your testes?
Next to your junk. That would hurt.
That would have hurt like heck.
Yeah. So, well, the effects, with the exception of the makeup, the effects are super cheesy. Now, I tell you, my heart was stolen by Cease Burrell, who plays the female soldier, Sentinella.
Yeah.
Oh, what a babe. and it's funny because Sandahl Bergman, who made a lot of movies, she plays Spangle. To me, she's not that good looking. She's way too skinny.
She is thin, yes.
She's like model.
But she was funny. She was...
Oh, yeah. Oh, everybody is very funny. But, no Sentinella.
Oh, man, she was nothing but business. I liked her. Yeah. She was the ultimate soldier girl.
Yeah.
And she loved to kill.
Yeah, but she takes a chance.
Yeah, well, of course, he's sitting there. He's virile. He's virile,
He's legendary.
Yeah.
Everybody, all the girls like him because he's such a stud. So now the other movie that we want to talk about briefly is They Live, directed by John Carpenter, written by Carpenter based on a Ray Nelson short story. Now this one stars, of course, Roddy Piper as Nada, Keith David as Frank, Meg Foster, the lady with the spooky, almost white irises. Mm-hmm. She plays Holly. George Buck Flower plays a bum, a drifter is his designation in the credits. And somehow or other, he becomes like a big boss of the alien civilization. Mm. And Peter Jason. Now, if you don't know about this movie, the idea is that all the human beings who are being downtrodden, living in shacks, cities...
It was eerie when they were describing...
In L.A., so why are so many human beings on Skid Row? Because the things running our civilization are aliens, and you can only see them through these glasses that Roddy swipes a pair of, and then it reveals that all the billboards are fakes, and they're keeping all human beings asleep so that they can... We don't know why. Milk us for all we've got, I guess.
Yeah, well, they wanted... It reminded me of the Republicans.
Yeah.
The aliens were the Republicans.
Absolutely, they are.
Yeah. And they wanted to get rid of the middle class, make everyone subservient, and everybody working for them.
Right.
And they would benefit from all the work of everyone else.
Right.
I'm going, change the aliens to Republicans, and that's what it's like today.
It is.
And I just couldn't help see the similarities of what they were describing in this movie, where we're heading.
Have you ever seen the photograph? It's a selfie taken at the Oscars, I think, a year or two ago, and it's got Ellen DeGeneres, who was hosting. I think she's taking the picture. And it's got Meryl Streep and George Clooney and Kevin Spacey. Just like nothing but stars. It's always two pictures. There's that one, and then underneath they're all done up like the aliens from They Live. And it's black and white. And the caption underneath the last time I saw it was, "I knew it." The elite.
With filter and without filter.
That's right, yeah. Now, Roddy Piper comes across as a much better actor in this, and that just goes to show
the difference in directing.
Yeah. Because John Carpenter is a much more competent director than the pair Donald G. Jackson and R.J. Kaiser, who did Hell Comes to Frogtown. Plus, he had a bigger budget.
Right.
But he must have just done take after take to get the lines closer to making Roddy appear to be able to act.
Yeah.
Because I don't know that he's that good an actor. And then the last thing I want to say is that one of my favorite sitcoms, it's ongoing, I'm waiting for the next season, It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. Roddy Piper had a recurring role in that as a brain-addled wrestler who the boys utilized.
I haven't seen the
times. Yeah, and he's so funny. The last episode that he's in, he shows up and somebody says, well, we just want to basically get you back on your feet, get you a place to live. I can move in with you? Great! For the rest of the episode, there's this huge, muscular, crazy man just always in the background in the guy's apartment. Just like, can you guys keep it down? I want to catch some Z's. Oh, that's not what we meant.
But I like this movie. They Live.
Yeah,
it is really well done. One thing about Carpenter, though, you watch a lot of his movies, which I have lately. I watched Escape from New York and Escape from L.A. just recently.
Another movie that Frogtown is ripping off is Escape from New York.
Sure, a little bit, yeah.
And instead of it just being like an injection,
it's
on his groin.
Yeah. Anyway, I get really tired of his music.
Right.
I mean, I was watching this, and it's like the synthesized music, boom, boom, boom. Yeah. And after a while, you say, "Okay, Carpenter, just hire someone else."
Well, but he does, and it sounds just like Carpenter's music.
Does he?
Yeah. Sometimes it's Carpenter doing the music. Sometimes it's the other guy. I can't remember his name. And sometimes
it's a collaboration.
It's credited to both of them.
In this case, it was a collaboration, but at the same time, get someone else completely different.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And give your movies a little different feel to it.
I think that music, pseudo music, works in The Thing.
Yes, it definitely does.
Very dark and moody and kind of weird.
And even Escape in New York.
Escape from New York.
Yeah, I mean, that's fine, but give it a rest. It's like, it's a trademark at this point. As soon as you hear that music, that's a Carpenter movie.
Yeah.
If it gets so mundane, then change it. Yeah. Change it. Give it some freshness.
Yeah, well, he's still with us, thank goodness.
Well worth seeing movie, I think, They Live. Yeah,
it's not one of my favorite Carpenter movies. The Thing, of course.
Yeah, of course, that's
best
better.
Movie
yeah.
But yeah, it's a great idea. I'd love to read the. In fact, I did. Yeah, when I knew we were going to be doing this, I went online and I found a copy of Ray Nelson's short story. It's a very short story. It's just
10 pages,
2,000 words, and the idea is, don't think that it's as simple as he gets a pair of glasses that reveal the aliens to him, but he's just like, the cops think he's just a lunatic who's going around killing people, and he's like, no, you don't understand. These are hostile aliens who are using us. And it's such a simplified version of the movie. Yeah, I can see how Carpenter went, I can do this.
It just reminds me of something in this movie. Is that scene where the two of them are fighting.
Yes, it goes on way.
Oh man, does that go on? Yeah. It's like they beat the hell out of each other, and then they start up again.
I know,
and then they start up again.
And they're unmarked at the end of it.
Yeah, well, they're pretty beat up.
Okay, immediately they've got some fake blood on them.
Yeah.
The next scene, they're okay.
Yeah.
And meanwhile, they're smashing crates over each other's heads.
And into the wall and all sorts of... It just kept going on. Put the glasses on. No!
I don't want to. Yeah.
And I swear, they went on for about 10 minutes.
Yeah, I saw it in the theater and everybody was restless. I mean, we were laughing because it went on and on and on.
But maybe that was because everybody knew he was a wrestler, right?
Yeah,
maybe that was just sort of a tribute to his wrestling fans.
That could be. Maybe Carpenter thought, geez, the movie's only 70 minutes long. Oh, I've got all this fight footage. Let's chop that into the movie.
Yeah.
Okay, folks. So obviously we're not going to get to the Ben Wheatley movies this episode. We'll sit on those. We've been sitting on them long enough already. But what can I say? Fear the Walking Dead is worth watching. Wes Craven, check out his movies if you haven't seen them. As I say, I particularly recommend The People Under the Stairs and Red Eye. I think my two favorite Wes Craven movies. You'd be surprised by Red Eye. I think it qualifies as horror. It's certainly suspenseful.
It's very suspenseful.
Yeah. And good old Roddy Piper.
Yeah. Actually, both movies really...
Yeah. His two best.
Yeah. Hell Goes to Frogtown, which is...
Hell Comes to Frogtown.
Well, I was surprised. I didn't even know this movie existed.
Oh, I've heard of it since it was new, but it's just one of those ones, and as somebody said online, the title does two things. One, it tells you exactly what's going to happen in the movie, and 2, it keeps you from wanting to watch it. That was a very good comment. That's what the IMDb site. That's good, yeah. No, for all I heard, it's a hoot, it doesn't take itself seriously, I never got around to watching it until last night.
Yeah.
So it's, 56 years I've been waiting to see it. Okay, folks, so we're going to wrap it up, and we'll be back in 2 weeks with another episode, including reviews of San Andreas and an